over a little thing, oh, this made me crash out. Thing, like y'all see the jokes online where it's like a dude will crash out over a little thing, oh, this made me crash out.
Men are very emotional.
Get your food! Who? Get in the car? Who? Nay. Get your food! Get your food! If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my God, I said one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Talking about what?
Say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
This bitch lied and said that I got her pregnant when I fucking did it. And then you dumbasses, 3 years later, believe some bitch that makes the same fucking allegations again. You fucking idiots. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right fucking here.
I'm going to. Okay.
Fundamentally, the male has always been the same. We have just not been allowed to have conversations about this as a collective in an open forum format. He has always possessed the propensity to have low impulse control when he is triggered, a hankering for violence, and engaging in high risk physical intimacy behavior and having a high sex drive. An appetite for destruction. The elites and the powers that be have utilized women as a tool to be a buffer for male violence and male erratic, uncontrollable, and chaotic behavior. One of the most effective ways that they have done this is through pushing the propaganda of the nuclear family, which we will find out was all a myth. You will notice men in popular right-winged groups tend to romanticize the stability of the nuclear family, claiming that it is the nucleus and the heart of American Protestant values and the backbone of the country. But really, it was a politicized construct designed to keep the male who would never have the chance to achieve elite statuses in check and give him his own mini kingdom to rule over so that he did not become a problem for the elites. In fact, laws are made to govern men. A more fitting description of the nuclear family is to call it the coochie allocation program, where women were evenly distributed to men of lower means to give them a sort of pacifier and a buffer that would keep them distracted from overtaking the elites and the powers that be. This phrase originates from one of my favorite TikTokers, Millie Poppins. The fact is, the nuclear family is a highly politicized construct designed to benefit those at the top, much like everything else. In a study published by PubMed, we see the male breadwinner nuclear family is not actually the traditional human family, and the promotion of this myth may have adverse consequences.
My wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Pause to read this, but the most important part that I want to highlight from this paragraph is how many conservative groups blame poor single mothers and educated white women for the downfall of the nuclear family. Pause to read this, but I'm going to start from the bottom up. Many people believe that the American nuclear family was strong, stable, and self-reliant until the 1960s. The gag here is that they have no historical context from this golden age of the 1950s that they are pulling from. And in fact, premarital sex and unwedlock pregnancy was actually very prevalent during that time. Why this resurgence over the last 5 years of these right-wing Protestant values being shoved down our throats? Mainly because of the turn of the tides and the fear associated with the American middle class disappearance, feeling threatened by immigrants, radicals, quote-unquote communists, racial or sexual minorities, and feminists.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
And in fact, anthropologists and historians have proved that only the privileged Protestant white women in cities and towns were able to devote themselves fully to their children. Black women have always worked outside of the house, and women of color and immigrants. It has never been a privilege of the person of color, but more so those of higher elite statuses who enjoyed that kind of affluent lifestyle. From this chart, you can see around the 1950s that women, black women, were of the highest poverty rate during that time frame. So the reality of us being stay-at-home women and keeping the house was simply a misnomer and a fantasy and a delusion at best. Marriage for women of color, especially back in those days, was for women to get access to economic resources. For the men, it was access to the woman's womb so that he can carry his genetic information generationally, and access to power. He had access to his own mini kingdom. It is just a fact that back then the women had no choice. So all in all, if women are now given the choice, unlike our predecessors, we are going to choose to do what's in the best interest of our safety, mental health, and emotional well-being. Women now have the option to choose to stay away from the most degenerated form of masculinity. And what's happening is it's contributing to men becoming more unhinged.
These fucking guys. So you motherfuckers can say whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna stand by the guys that stand by me, because you fucking pieces of shit